Good morning, everyone. My name is Krista, COO of the Weldon Long organization. I'm delighted to welcome you to your company-wide introduction. Before we dive in, I have the pleasure of introducing our esteemed host for this meeting, Weldon Long. Mr. Long is not just a residential HVAC expert, he's also a New York Times bestselling author and a true visionary in our industry. His extensive experience and profound insights have helped countless HVAC businesses grow and become more profitable. Weldon's commitment to excellence and his passion for our field are truly inspiring. Before I bring up Mr. Long, I'd like to share a brief video.
Having authored 15 books and trained over 4 million people in the field of communication and sales, I can honestly say that adopting and accepting the prosperity mindset was critical to help me achieve my goals. And I think Wally's story about handling adversity, overcoming challenges, and coming out to where he has today is such a vivid, true example of this concept. If you look at Weldon's life, that's exactly what he's done. I just feel honored to share the stage with him, and not only do I consider him a very good friend, but I consider him someone that is going to have a life-changing effect on many people in this world, especially those that'll take what he says seriously and apply it to their life.
Are you ready? Are you ready to rock your life? You gotta dream big. Whenever you think you've got as big as you can get, go bigger. And when somebody tells you you can't do it, don't let them get in your way while you're busy doing it. Everything that you need to do to build a life of success and wealth and prosperity, it's easy. It's just a little bit easier not to.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's easy. It's just a little bit easier not to. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you guys. Very excited about kicking off this project. What I want to do today is to introduce myself and give you guys an idea what's going to happen over the coming months, and really an idea of the expectations that I have for this industry. I've been in this industry a long time. We'll talk about that for just a minute, just to give you some background, a little bit of credibility, and give you guys an idea of what to expect, both in terms of the training and development we're going to give you guys, and also in terms of my expectations, which are very, very high for folks in this industry. I often tell people this industry is not sexy, it's not glamorous, but there's a shit ton of opportunity in it, and we want to make sure that we're able to squeeze every bit of opportunity out for you guys. So I've written 3 books in addition to my speaking and consulting in the industry. I've written 3 books, and all of our training programs are kind of based on 1 or 3 of these books. Sometimes some of the programs are based on a couple of them at the same time. But what I guess I want you to know is that this stuff is not just some shit that I made up in my head. That middle book right there is a New York Times bestseller. Consistency Selling is an Amazon #1 best-selling book. The Upside of Fear is Writer's Digest Best Book of the Year a number of years ago when it came out. So this is all based on stuff that I've done, experienced in our industry. And I do a lot of speaking in other industries as well. But this is the industry I come from, the residential plumbing and HVAC industry. And as I like to say that, really everything I knew about building, business, making money, growing wealth, I learned across the kitchen table from mom and pop homeowner. And the reality is there is a shit ton of opportunity to grow wealth. A comfort advisor in this industry can comfortably make 250 to 300 grand a year. By the way, with no brain damage and no overhead. A good service technician can easily make 150 to 200. If they do some tech selling and sell some systems, they can easily get to 300 as well. So the opportunity is huge. The question is, how do we take advantage of that opportunity? What I have done is figured out the secret sauce of how to leverage this industry to create, whatever it is you want in terms of your income. You can freaking, as I often say, change your zip code and in this industry. And what I want from my guys, I've had about a dozen companies over the years. I have 7 right now that I own across the country. And what I want is for my technicians and my sales guys to be able to live in the neighborhoods where they work. Right? I don't want you driving into a neighborhood and saying, man, wouldn't it be awesome to have this house or that house? I want you to be able to afford to live there right alongside the doctors and the lawyers who are making 300 grand a year. And that opportunity is here for us. And as I said in the video, it's easy. The problem is it's a little bit easier not to. In other words, it's easy to go in and run a service call or a sales call the way we're supposed to. The problem is it's a little bit easier to go in, fix the basic repair, and get the hell out, or drop off a bid and get the hell out. And what I'm seeking to do is to change that and to put you guys in a little different perspective, give you some better tools, and help you guys achieve the things that you want to achieve. I want to talk to you real quick about my journey in this industry. I got in this industry 23 years ago. My first month as a comfort advisor, you can see here, was July of 2003. And I did $149,000 in sales my very first month, not knowing what the hell I was doing in terms of the mechanical technical side. And if you look at these numbers closely, you will see back in 2003, our average ticket was about $7,500 for a full system, including electrical, by the way. Obviously, things have changed in the last 23 years. Our average ticket now is, $15,000 to $20,000. In today's numbers, that would easily be 300 grand. So the question is, how does a knucklehead like me come out of the gate, get in this industry, and have these kind of results? What would be the equivalent of $300,000 or $350,000 his first month? And it's because I've got a process and a system. And that process and system is made up of 3 parts that we're going to talk about this morning. Number 1 is the sales process itself, or the service call process, right? There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And so the process is the centerpiece of what we do. And the process in my book is supreme, right? We need to stay focused on executing on our process. Don't worry about the outcome. In sales and service, there's the process of what we do, and there's the outcome. The homeowner controls the outcome. We control the process. So we got to stay focused on the process. But in addition to the process of running a service call or a sales call, there's 2 bookends. One of those bookends is the mindset, what I refer to as the prosperity mindset, a mindset that is geared and programmed to thrive in the face of adversity, a mindset that is geared to kick ass in the face of any challenge. It won't be held back. It won't be deterred. A strong, powerful mindset, a steel trap. And when you got the prosperity mindset, I tell you, you got the keys to the kingdom, because nothing can stop you. Nothing can hold you back. So you got the process in the middle. On one end, you got the mindset. On the other end, you have the concept of consistency itself, which is basically executing on the plan over and over and over again. The reality is consistent results come from consistent activities. Random results come from random activities. So if I want to produce consistent success as a comfort advisor or a service technician, I have to be able to execute on a consistent process and do it every single time. So that's we'll talk more about that and what's going down with that. This is a letter I got in 2009. I opened my first company in 2004. I quickly grew that to $20 million in sales. I sold that in 2010. By that time, I was already traveling 200,000 miles a year, helping other contractors build their companies. In 2019, I opened another little HVAC company in Colorado Springs where I live. And in 5 years, you can see from the numbers here, from July 1st to June 30th of 2024, 5 years to the day, grew that company to over $42 million in revenue. That was not an acquisition. That was a greenfield. I started that with 0 customers and $0. I tell you all that to tell you this. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell you some shit that I read in the book or that I heard that might work. I'm going to tell you the shit that I do as a comfort advisor, as a manager, as an owner, whatever my role is in any particular company. This is what I do, what I train my people to do, that creates these powerful, powerful results. And I promise you, in this company, that $42 million, I made a lot of money for comfort advisors. And there's nothing I get a bigger kick out of than a comfort advisor coming to me who maybe is not making all that much money, and next thing you know, they're making 300 or 400 grand a year, and they're buying a new house, they're buying a new car, and their wife quits their job, or whatever the case may be, right? That's what this is about. This is about improving the quality of your life and changing your freaking zip code. As I often tell people, not in a braggadocious way, but I got mine. I spent the last 23 years getting mine. And in fact, I'm not in my studio. As you can see, I'm here in my bus, in my Rockstar motorhome bus out in Palm Springs, California, working from out here for a few weeks. And so I've done pretty well, and I've got mine. My mission now, 62 years old, I'm getting to be an old man, long in the teeth. And my mission now is to help the youngsters in this industry achieve the success that they want to achieve. Because this industry gave me everything I have. There's no reason it can't do the same for you. So the interesting thing is, when I got this job and had this first month, when I got that job, I was living here. This is a halfway house at 3808 North Nevada in Colorado Springs. And I was living there because I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have a home. I didn't have a car. Didn't have jack shit. And the reason I was there is because I had just finished 13 years in the state and federal penitentiary systems. Not going to go into a ton of detail. If you're interested in that, you can read my first book, The Upside of Fear. I go into great detail about all the crimes and all the crime drama and courtroom drama and all that stuff. But basically, from 1987 to 2003, that roughly 16 years, I spent 13 of those years walking prison yards. I was a ninth grade high school dropout, a knucklehead and a punk and a thug, and thought I knew what the hell I was doing, and obviously creating a pretty shitty life for myself. Fortunately, in 1996, about halfway through that 13 years, I changed my ways. And unfortunately, it came at the cost of my father's life. My father died in 1996 on June 10th of 96, and that was my wake-up call. I was 32 years old. I had 7 years left to serve, and I decided I was going to change the course of my life, and I did. And a lot of what you're going to learn in our programs is what I did to change my life and going from being a broke dick homeless person to earning millions of dollars in this industry. I'm going to teach you exactly step by step how I did it. My life looks a lot different today. I love this picture. This picture was taken just a couple of years ago. My wife and I were down in Canyon City, Colorado, which is where a bunch of the prisons are in Colorado. If you could throw a rock from where I am in that Ferrari over that guard tower, you would hit the cell house I was living in 1987. So almost 40 years ago. And so I get a real kick out of this picture, the juxtaposition of kind of the life before and the life after. And it's been a dramatic shift. And I'm telling you, it can be the same dramatic shift in your life. 13 years in piss holes like this. My life today looks a lot different. The question is, what did I do? It's very simple. I got my mind right and I got my process right. And that's what I want to talk about in the time we have together. With respect to getting your mind right, you've got to make sure that you have the right mindset to be successful in our industry. And I'll give you a quick metaphor. Imagine right here in front of me, I have a box, a big giant crate. And in that crate is everything I need to build a beautiful motorcycle. The engine, the frame, everything's in there. The wheels, the handlebars. And component by component, I begin to take the pieces out of the box and I begin to assemble the motorcycle. And I put it together properly. At some point, I look in the box is empty, right? I've successfully removed all the components and built the motorcycle. What are the odds that when I sit back to look at this beautiful mechanical creation that I've built out of the motorcycle parts, I realize that I didn't build a motorcycle, but instead I accidentally baked a cake? You can't bake a cake out of motorcycle parts. It's just that simple. Whatever's in the box is all that you can remove from the box. Well, that box is a metaphor for your mind. And the components of your life, just like the components of that motorcycle, the individual components of your life, your money, your relationships, your health, whatever, it's all in your box, in its component form, in the form of your thoughts, your beliefs, your expectations. And then what happens over the course of our life, according to neuroscientists, we make 30,000 decisions and choices a day. Now, most of these are at the subconscious level, obviously. You're not making 30,000 conscious decisions, but 30,000 times a day, your subconscious mind is making choices for you. And every time you make a choice, a decision, you metaphorically reach in your box and you pull out a piece of your life. So, for example, if you get your paycheck and you got a choice to make, am I going to go blow this and go to the casino and have a party, or am I going to save 20%? Well, everybody makes different decisions, so you got to reach in your box and see which decision you make. If you pull out, I'm going to the casino to party, you pull out a little piece of your financial future. If you reach in that box and you pull out save 20%, you pull out a different financial future. So 20 years from now, don't be curious or mystified by your financial condition. Your financial condition 20 years from today will simply be a reflection of every decision you made about money when you reach in that box. So that's how life works, right? It's not something that just happens magically. It's a slow accumulation of decisions and choices day after day, year after year, decade after decade. So the question becomes, what's in your box? What is in your box about money? What is in your box about price and quality? You know, in our industry, I was in Anaheim, California yesterday with a room full of technicians and comfort advisors. And I do this whenever I'm in a room in a live event. I'll ask people a very simple question. What's the first word that comes to mind when I say the word salesman? And what I have learned, somewhere between 60 and 70% of people in our industry will have a negative word come to mind when I say salesman. Pushy, high pressure, sleazy, lazy, whatever. Now, stop and think about this. If my core belief about salesmen, and as a service technician, you're in sales, right? We call it communications, but you're in the sales business as a service tech or a selling tech. If my core belief about sales is negative, how in the hell am I ever going to become a top producer? I can tell you how. It won't happen. You see, the key to life, the key to success in this business is that what's in the box in here has to be in alignment with what I want to achieve out here. In other words, if I want to make 300 grand a year out here, but in my box, I think salespeople are sleazy, pushy, and obnoxious, I'm never going to make 300 grand because my core belief will be holding me back, right? The key to this thing is changing the contents of the box so that it is alignment with what you want to do today. Because I will tell you this, and you'll learn more about this. You guys are going to go through a 3-hour program called The Power of Consistency. And I go into great detail about this, which I don't have time for today, but that's why we have the programs online. And many of you hopefully will be coming out to Colorado Springs where I do this live in my car barn. You get to come out and hang out with the cool cars, smoke cigars, have a cocktail, and we spend 2 days together just working on this shit. But the bottom line is a lot of the stuff in your box got put there by other people, right? Mostly when you were young, right? You come into this world, you've got your box, it's empty because you're a kid, you don't have any ideas about money, quality service, none of that stuff, right? Well, what happens is the world around us starts putting ideas in our box. Next thing you know, you're 18 or 20 years old making your own decisions, and guess what you pull out? You pull out what other people put in your box. Now, some of the shit they put in your box is good, but I promise you a lot of the shit they put in your box was bad, especially about money. Unless you're a Vanderbilt or a Carnegie or something like that, you probably had some negative perspective on money put in your box. My dad used to tell me when I was a kid, rich people were crooks, right? My family had a very poverty mindset. And so until I was able to change that, it affected my ability to grow wealth and to grow income. I'll tell you another thing. A lot of times in our box, it's called a limiting belief. And again, you'll learn a lot more about this when you go through the online programs, when you come out to Colorado. But there are a lot of limiting beliefs that are restricting our success in this industry. One of those is that there's a very common belief, which is bullshit, by the way, that people just want a cheap price. If people wanted a cheap price, then the cheapest company in every market would also be the largest company. I mean, let's face it, if every homeowner wants a cheap price, they're all going to be drawn to the cheap guy. The cheap guy would have 300 trucks on the road. Well, how often is that the case? I can tell you, never. In fact, just the opposite is true. Typically, the most expensive company in every market is the most successful, the largest company. That's called a clue. Success leaves clues. That's a clue. So the fact that we think sometimes people want a cheap price, that's a limiting belief in our box. We got to fix that shit. Because as long as that's in there, that's going to hold us back from going in and doing dynamic, powerful presentations with respect to our sales and our service calls. I'm going to teach you what that presentation looks like. I'm going to teach you how to go in and be 10 feet tall and being fucking King Kong when you walk in the house. But you got to get the mindset right first. So the first program we're going to put you through is a program based on my book, The Power of Consistency, which is all about building the mindset to be successful, right? All of this happens at the subconscious level. We got to start changing your subconscious perspective on price, quality, value, service, your responsibilities to your homeowners. At the end of the day, in this business, we get paid based on the number of problems that we solve for homeowners. But we cannot solve a problem that we have not found. So we have to be willing to go in on a sales call and service call and go far beyond the initial problem, whatever that is, right? People are going to call you about a problem that bothers them right now. But we all know there's probably 10 other problems in that house with airflow, indoor air quality, hot water, clean water, all these different issues. Our job is to dig. And again, in the training, I'm going to teach you how to do it, but you got to dig. It's got to come from a subconscious perspective. We have to make sure that we're making the right decisions, because those 30,000 choices a day come from the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is the most powerful problem-solving supercomputer on the planet. Its job is to solve problems for you and get you where you want to go in life. The problem is the subconscious is a very powerful problem solver, but it's also a lousy judge of character. In other words, it will act on negative things just as effectively as it acts on positive things. This is why we have to be very careful about who we listen to and who we talk to, what we say, what we read, right? If you get caught up around a bunch of negative bullshit, talking to a bunch of losers in a supply house, and they start telling you about how customers are so cheap and the economy sucks, well, guess what? If you listen to them and you believe them, then it's true. But if you tell them to go pound sand, that you have a prosperity mindset and you're going to go out there, kick ass and take names and thrive in the face of whatever adversity you face, then that's going to be true. The reality is your truth is whatever you think it's going to be. It all happens at the subconscious level. Subconscious level is super, super powerful. Let me prove it to you. One of the things I highly encourage people to use is what we call a dream board. A dream board is simply a piece of wood, a piece of glass, in your truck, anywhere in the world where you see it often, where you put pictures of the things you want in your life. It's a very powerful way to constantly feed your subconscious mind with the positive things you're trying to accomplish. If you want to make $300,000 a year, write $300,000 on a piece of paper and put it on your bathroom mirror where you see it every single day. Because your subconscious mind, through a process of the reticular activating system, will go out there and find the people, opportunities, and things you need to make that 300 grand. But you have to change your thinking. If you're making 100 grand and you think like the person who makes 100 grand, you're never going to accidentally make 300 grand. If you want to make 300 grand, you got to think the things that the 300 grand guy is thinking. And that's a different way of thinking. You're going to learn that path when you go through the power of consistency. But just understand at this point that you cannot accidentally create more than you expect. You can't expect to make 100 grand a year and accidentally make 300,000. It's never going to happen. You have to consciously and proactively pursue and think like a person who makes $300,000. So the subconscious mind is very powerful. That's why I encourage people to get a dream board. So let me tell you a little story here that might illustrate the point. As I've gotten older, I've really gotten into exotic cars. I've got several Ferraris, 4 Ferraris. I've got an Aston Martin. I've got some old Camaros, old Corvettes, a G-Wagon, a Mercedes G-Wagon, 4x4, a lot of cool cars, right? Well, back in 2018, I was watching this video right here. This is a video of Floyd Mayweather.
Now, y'all guys tell me, should I take this truck out today? My G-Wagon?
So I saw that video, and I had seen plenty of G-Wagons. I'd never seen a G-Wagon square. This was a G550 4x4 square, and this was in 2018. You can see I took a picture of it there on November 5th, and I put this on my dream board. Over the course of the next couple of months, I talked to a couple of exotic auto, car guys, and I said, hey, if you ever come across one of these, let me know. 2 years go by, and in 2020, this auto guy, this exotic car guy calls me and says, hey, I found a G-Wagon squared, G550, just like the one you sent me the picture of. So he sends me a picture of it. We work the deal out. I buy the car. I fly out to San Diego. I drive it back home, and there it sits in my backyard. 2 weeks after this car comes in, my wife comes down to my desk and brings me the title work, the paperwork. And she goes, here's the title work on that G-Wagon. I'm like, well, just set it down. She goes, no, you won't believe who this car belonged to. And I'm thinking like, no shit, no way. Turns out Mayweather Promotions, it was the exact same G-Wagon I had seen 2 years earlier on YouTube. My point is the subconscious mind will do shit for you that you cannot even imagine if you feed it the right stuff, right? So that's the mindset we're going to teach you. How to create the mindset to create wealth and prosperity in your life, and not to listen to a bunch of half-ass losers who are telling you can't do it or it can't be done because customers are cheap, the economy sucks, whatever. You got to shut all that shit out. I'm going to teach you how to get a laser beam focus. James Allen said that dispersion is weakness and concentration is power. Dispersion is scatterbrain thinking, listening to other losers, right? Concentration is you getting focused on what you want to achieve for you and your family, going out there, kicking ass, taking names, and getting done what you know needs to be done. And that's the mindset you got to have if you're going to be a star producer in this business. If you're going to change your zip code, you can't be half-ass about it. You got to be intentional and focused and going out there and accomplishing the things that you know you want to accomplish. So the second part of this is the process, right? So we're going to teach you a 3-step process, how to run a service call, and then we're going to teach you my entire sales system. We're going to teach your people how to qualify leads, teach you how to run a service call and a sales call. Here's the bottom line that you got to understand about all this stuff. That you have to go out there with a fierce mindset, a laser beam focus on creating value for your homeowner. It is not about high pressure. It's about high service. Our expectations are very, very high. My expectation on a maintenance call, for example, is $1,000 of revenue on every maintenance call. Now, that will include your tech turn revenue. So if you go out there and you run 10 maintenance calls, between your maintenance, any other accessories you sell, and the revenue that comes in off your tech turn leads should equal at least $10,000, right? This is how you change your zip code. I'm going to teach you through the process. You guys are going to go through all the training. Then you're going to come out to Colorado Springs. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. But that should be your expectation, right? And we're going to start tracking our performance on service calls, maintenance calls, and sales calls. And it's going to be published in your office. You're going to know exactly where you are. The numbers don't lie. If you don't hit those expectations and we decide, hey, this isn't working out, it won't be because Billy wants to do it or I want to do it. It's because the numbers tell us what we have to do in business. In a business, the budget is no different than your personal budget at home. If you have more bills than you make in money, that's a problem. It's the same way in business. So in business, we have to set the budgets for what we're paying you, but then we have to set the budgets for revenue we're going to generate. And those key metrics are $1,000 on every maintenance call, $1,500 on every demand service call. Now, again, that does include the tech turn revenue. So if you go out there and you run, let's say you run 15 maintenance calls and you generate a couple of $100 on each maintenance call, but then out of those 15 maintenance calls, you turn a couple of leads. The sales people go out there, if you're a selling tech, if it's you, if it's not, it's a comfort advisor, and sells one system for $15,000. Well, that $15,000 plus the $200 in maintenance revenue each call, right, is going to total like $18,000, $19,000. You divide that by 15, that's well over $1,000 revenue per maintenance call. So it's pretty easy to achieve when you look at all it really means is you got to sell a system or turn a lead that somebody else sells that's going to generate an average of $15,000 because that's the average ticket these days, right? And if your average ticket isn't that high, we're going to show you how to get it that high, right? We got to offer more comprehensive solutions. On a service call, it's the same way. Obviously, your service revenue is going to be higher on a demand repair versus a maintenance, but then you're going to probably turn more leads because you're dealing with older systems. And we expect at least $1,500 on average, including tech turn revenue, on every service call. On our sales calls, we use a measurement called revenue per lead. Excuse me. Revenue per lead is not average ticket and it's not average close rate. Revenue per lead is your gas mileage on every lead. What I mean by that, if I told you I can drive from here in Palm Springs to my house in Colorado on one tank of gas, is that good gas mileage or bad gas mileage? Well, we don't know. We have to know two things. We got to know how many gallons of gas that I burn, and we got to know how many miles I drove. Well, if in my bus I've got a 200-gallon tank, and I can go to Colorado on one tank, you do the math, it works out to about 6 miles per gallon. That's what I get in this bus, 6 miles per gallon. If I got a hybrid out here, a little Toyota Prius or whatever, and I've got a 15-gallon tank, and I can drive that same distance, well, that's like 50 miles a gallon. Obviously, that's better gas mileage than what I get in the bus. My point is we have to have a standard way to measure our productivity, and we use revenue per lead. The benchmark that we're looking for on revenue per lead is $6,000. What that means, if I give somebody 10 sales leads, they should bring back $60,000 minimum. Average per lead, $6,000. Now, that might be, if I give somebody 10 leads, they might go out there and sell 4 systems, right? Which would only be a 40% close rate, obviously. But if their average ticket is $15,000, Those 4 systems generate $60,000 in revenue. 60,000 divided by 10 leads, right? That's the number of gallons of leads I had to burn to get that. Divided by 10 is $6,000. So, and you might have other people that have a lower close rate, but a higher average ticket, and they might only sell 3 out of those 10, but they sell them at $20,000 a piece. Well, that's still $60,000. So there's a lot of different ways to get the $6,000 revenue per lead, but that is the benchmark that we use to know if we're, performing at a high level. The expectation is $1,000 on a maintenance call, again, including your tech turn revenue, $1,500 on a demand call, and $6,000 revenue per sales lead. That would be a marketed sales lead. Or if you're a comfort advisor and you get a tech turn lead, you got to generate at least $6,000 on every single lead. And then once you're going to learn all those processes. We teach it 2 ways. Number 1, you're going to go through it first online. You guys may have already started that. I'm not sure. You'll be working with Andrea, who is your accountability coach. And then we do 8 events a year out here in Colorado. So we do our core sales training, which is for comfort advisors or selling technicians. Then we do our service tech training on how to own the service call. Then we do an advanced sales training, right, which is closing the deal. Basically, it's advanced closing role play. We just teach you how to overcome objections. And then the 4th event is for owners and managers in terms of a kind of a mastermind group we do. We do those 4 classes twice a year. What I want you guys to know is that there's no more tolerance and room for bullshit excuses. I'm telling you, I got 103 IQ and a 9th grade education, walked out of the penitentiary at 39 years old, and made a shit ton of money as a comfort advisor in this business. So as a result, I don't tolerate any excuses, because if I can do it with my shitty ass background, there's no reason you guys, with your experience, with your knowledge, there's no reason you guys can't go out there and kick ass on what I did. You guys should be looking at me like that old fucking fart. He's water under the bridge. Let me show you what the new generation can do. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to kick my ass. I want you to make my numbers look like shit. But I'm going to tell you something. It's going to take focus. It's going to take effort. It's going to take a new mindset. And it's going to take some hard work. But I promise you, the rewards are worth the effort. If you put the effort in, you commit and say, that's it. I'm dropping the fucking gloves and I'm coming out swinging. I don't care if you're a technician, a selling technician, or a comfort advisor, but I'm going to follow this process because it works. And it's worked for 25 years in my companies. I own 7 other companies. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I have other companies across the country. I've built and bought and sold 5 or 6 others over the last 20 years. I have hundreds of clients. I've worked with thousands of service technicians and comfort advisors, and I can tell you this process works. In fact, if you're curious, you can go to my website, weldonlong.com, and there's a testimonial tab across the top. Just listen to some of those videos. Watch some of those videos. These are guys that are coming down and changing their fucking zip code. So there's one guy on there, we just put it up, that he was making about $2,000 a pay period. I don't know if that was a week or every 2 weeks, but he was making about $2,000 a pay period. He put into place a couple of the things he learned in our training, and he's now making $6,000 per pay period. It ain't rocket science, right? In fact, it's easy. The problem is, like I said in the intro video, it's a little bit easier not to. And so we have to decide as grown-ass men whether or not we're going to put the work and effort in, right? And the level of expectation is getting elevated, right? Half-assed people won't make it. We're looking for people. You don't have to be a rock star. You don't have to be a freaking unicorn, but you have to make the effort and follow the process. And if you put your effort, your experience, and your talent and personality in conjunction with the process, I guarantee you that you will see powerful ass results. But I'm going to tell you something. Second place is just the first fucking loser. And we're not going to be doing that at your company, ever. We're going to be the top performing company. We may not be the biggest company yet, but individually, we're going to be the top performing service technicians, selling technicians, and comfort advisors. That's just the way it is. I don't ever want to be in second place. I want our guys to be the very best, the best trained, the best mindset, the best producers, just the best badass dudes on the planet. And that's what we're going to give you. We will be meeting with you guys every Tuesday. We do service tech and sales training every Tuesday morning. Every single morning, you guys may already have started getting these. Every single morning, we send a 3 to 5 minute little micro training right to your phone, a little video of my fat ass head with one reminder for the day. Ask for the order, build a relationship, whatever the case is. So you get daily reminders from me We do a weekly live meeting where you guys can ask me questions. And then we're constantly doing events in Colorado where you can come out and really absorb yourself and immerse yourself over the course of 2 days in whatever the topic of that particular training is. It's been great talking to you guys. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesdays. And hopefully look forward to seeing some of you guys out in Colorado Springs at the car barn. And until then, you guys jump into the online training. You start getting the core basics there. And then we'll really take it to the next level when you guys come out to Colorado.